Rebtel for iPhone lets you make free or cheap calls to friends around the world, from wherever and to whoever. Rebtel lets you use your Wi-Fi or 3G connection to call your Rebtel friends all over the world for free. Just find a friend with the free icon next to their name in your contact list to connect to them with just a touch. Of course, you can call anyone else on your contact list or any other phone as well, at rates up to 98% off what mobile carriers charge. Rebtel works with or without a data connection by automatically detecting what connections are available when you place a call. If you don't have Wi-Fi or 3G, Rebtel will place a call using your local minutes, then connect you through to the other side. If you call a Rebtel friend, the call is still free. You'll only be using your local minutes to connect around the world. Rebtel's smart system always chooses the cheapest option for your calls, so you can talk to whoever you want without worrying about the bill. But advanced users can control how calls are connected in the settings. Rebtel keeps you connected in other ways too. Let's say you make an important international call through the Wi-Fi at your house, but you have to leave to catch the bus in the middle of the call. Rebtel's KeepTalking feature warns you that the call quality is degrading and lets you tap the Keep Talking button to seamlessly transition from your data connection to using your local minutes, and the call is still free if you're talking to a Rebtel friend. With Rebtel, your phone will pick the best and cheapest method to connect all of your calls, so you can talk more with your loved ones.